Question for the viewers. Do you think Will Smith is a great actor? Now, I can't answer personally, but I think most people would say that he is. He's one of the most accomplished actors of our time. He's a well-known household name. He starred in numerous critically acclaimed films, and as of this week, he's officially achieved the highest honor that an actor can achieve by winning an Academy Award. Now, what about Chris Rock? Do you think Chris Rock is a great entertainer? Very accomplished, a comedic legend, and without a doubt, one of the most successful brothers in Hollywood. Now, if you answer yes to either of those questions and you believe the events of Sunday night's 94th Annual Academy Awards were real or unscripted, then I have a riddle for you. How can you tell when a great actor isn't acting? How do you know when a legendary performer isn't putting on a show? Now, even though a Hollywood actor laying hands on a celebrity comedian somehow became the top story in American news, I don't just pose this riddle for that viral moment. I'm speaking to the broader culture of celebrity worship and cult following that in many ways defines leadership in our society. We find ourselves in a socially imposed situation where tens of millions of people have serious emotional attachments or psyched out obsessions with complete strangers they only see through camera lens. It's a normal thing to hear people say, "I love this actor or that rapper," who they never met. Our children pretend to be characters they watch in film, on phone screens, and grown folks in marriages admit they would give their spouse a pass to smash a favorite celebrity. And I'm sure we've all witnessed incidents where friends and family get into heated arguments and even fights over the news reports and lives of their favorite celebrities. Happens every day. So the cult of idolizing and fantasizing about fictional personalities and performers is over 9K at this point. But an even more ignorant dynamic, in my opinion, is when you ask people how do they know any of the info they claim to have about a celebrity is true, they often point to interviews or an internet post that the famous face allegedly made themselves. And for me, that's always been inconclusive evidence, if not straight up cap and gown, especially when it comes to actors. With the professional pretender, it's not only a matter of truth and lies, there's also the very real probability of some damn good acting going on. Let's say an actor did do an interview or an acceptance speech and they seemed so sincere and passionate and even cried. Well, how do you know when an actor is not acting? How do you know when a great actor like Will Smith ain't acting? Why? Because he shed some tears? The same thing he did in a dozen movies that are a core reason as to why we consider him a great actor in the first place? Now, I'll leave that question for you to work out for yourself, but I think this is a great lesson for everybody to hold on to when interacting with movie stars and their film products. As much as we may enjoy a performer's work, we should never allow ourselves to be so emotionally gullible that we lose our ability to think. Now let's upgrade this decode to the bigger picture in motion, the Academy Awards ceremony itself, and our cultural tradition of orchestrating grand public spectacles to stamp credits and awards on professionals of the entertainment industry. Why is this tradition so important to Americans? What value do award shows bring to the culture? Matter of fact, who even popped this thing off in the first place? Well, let's start with the Academy Awards. The very first Academy Awards ceremony went down in LA in 1929, right there in Hollywood. Now, at that time, it was pretty much a private affair, and the first Oscars award show wouldn't even be televised until 1957. As for the music industry, the first Grammys award show hit the TV screens in 1959. And speaking of television, the first Emmys award show was aired in 1949 in the same hood called Hollywood. Now, the Oscars were put together by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the Grammys are brought to you by the Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, and the Emmys are courtesy of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Oh yeah, and the Oscar trophy official name is the Award of Merit, and it's supposedly named after some old actress uncle or something like that. So as we can see, all of these award ceremonies are pretty much organized and orchestrated by the executives and professionals of the entertainment industry. And based on this timeline, it all started with the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which makes the Oscars the OG of this whole award show culture in American entertainment. Now, even though it may be clear that these groups are organized for the private interests of social imperialists in their industry, there's most definitely a public agenda with these award shows. And it ain't just to wow you with the beauty and talent of your favorite stars. But before we go further, we should point something out about the Academy Awards. Ratings for the Oscars have been dropping steadily for the past decade. And even with the whole smackdown between Will Smith and Chris Rock, the Oscars still had one of its lowest rated viewings of all time. Also, we should keep in mind just because something is unscripted doesn't mean it's not a performance. We should all understand that from watching reality TV. And all comedians like Chris Rock and Will Smith are well trained in improv. So without making any accusations, the drop in ratings of all award shows provide a real incentive for the producers to execute ratings ploys in order to drive up viewership. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. So back to the big screen. When analyzing the reward system of award shows, it's important to know that the fundamental structure of social mobility in America is not a meritocracy. Your ability to achieve status and elevate in this country is not purely based on the merits of your hard work through skill or talent, even if that was the intention of some organizations. Contrary to program belief, the meritocracy only really exists below the executive suite, or in the case of entertainers, before you receive the backing of the corporate syndicate and fraternal orders. This is vital because syndication gives you fortune and fame, while the executive suite and fraternal orders give you access to associations and power. So, it takes more than great acting and hard work to reach the top, or the inside track, backstage, behind the scenes, whatever. Now, regardless of whether an organization's agenda is self-serving or sinister, the core principle that invalidates a meritocracy is the rule of trust. Those in leadership and seats of power need to be able to trust the people who sit at their table or even dance on their puppet strings. Being a skilled expert or a star talent does not guarantee you can be trusted with trade secrets and sensitive information. And that's really that simple. It's less about merit and more about trust. So what does all of this really mean? If we don't live in a system of meritocracy, then what do we have? And what does this have to do with Hollywood celebs and award shows? Well, for one, we live in a system of rewards and punishments. Follow the rules, promote the agenda, and you may be nominated for an award. Break the rules or betray the organization, and your career might be over. So what this means is these award shows organized by these academies are not pure meritorious ceremonies either. And I ain't just talking about the legitimacy of voting. I'm talking about reward rather than awards and the reality of social engineering. With these events being established before most of us were alive, at a time when TV, movies, and music recordings were novelties that could easily captivate minds, award ceremonies are now woven deep into the fabric of American popular culture and branded into the psyche of American people. The U.S. government has dedicated billions of dollars to ensure this reality through acquisitions and subsidizing. And because of this esteemed status resulting from all that finesse, award shows like the Oscars or Grammys hold special power to directly impact the perceptions of the public. Or in the case of this catfight between Will and Chris, be the cause of a successful mass distraction. Now, I think the X factor of award shows' special status in American legacy is its position as a cultural authority on standards and validation. Institutions like the Oscars and the Grammys, and even Billboard charts and New York Times bestseller lists have the power to instantly elevate people in status and value, not only in their respective fields of work, but in the eyes of society as a whole. If an actor gets an Oscar, we immediately perceive them to be above the rest. Now that would be all good if there was actually a general understanding of the standards that these organizations have in place that makes one eligible for their recognition. But nobody really knows what those standards are. If we take the Oscars, we can see the standards can't be great acting. Otherwise, Will Smith and others should have earned their Oscars years ago, right? But there's even an issue with that thought as well. If one of our favorite actors don't get an Oscar, then we feel like they need the validation of the Academy for their talent to be legit. If one of our favorite actors gets an Oscar for a controversial role, then we start to question or distrust the standards being imposed by the Academy. If you ask me, this is way too much energy and authority given to an organization you really don't know nothing about. And with that kind of cultural authority presiding over this kind of social ignorance, it creates the perfect environment for social engineering and manipulation. Handing out Oscars and Grammys and Emmys to any performer or project who holds up the standards and programs that nobody can really define, reinforced by people no one can identify. Now tell me how much sense that makes. So after all the pretty dresses and tearful speeches get deconstructed, we can finally analyze the true purpose of award shows. And that's to reward individuals who play by the rules and play out the scripts, to keep Americans thinking the word of Hollywood is more important or real than it actually is. But the good news, as the ratings prove, the glamour and spell of Hollywood reward spectacles is finally wearing off. People are snapping out of the fairy tale. And it might not be long before that old man Oscar sees his curtains finally close. And this award season is officially decoded.